Hello, everybody. I am here with my wife, Charlene. I have been talking about doing this video with her for a while, and she has a very similar story to a lot of you, many of the same issues. She's sitting a little bit off cam. She's very nervous. She wants to do this, but she has an issue with being on camera and confidence and stuff like that. How come you don't like to be on cam?
I don't like being exposed.
Why not?
I don't know why.
Didn't you say that it came from your mother?
My mom definitely likes being on camera.
In what way?
She just likes to show off a lot. It just always has to be about her.
Is that the way it was when you were a kid?
Yeah, my mom has a kind of a showman personality. Like she just likes a lot of people paying attention to her. It always has to be about her. Like on my birthdays, it was always about her. Everything was always about her.
How does your mom react when things aren't about her?
And then it's not that important. If it's not about her, then it's really not that important. She has to be involved in it some way. Otherwise, it's just something to be ignored, I guess.
How would she react if she wanted to be a part of it and she felt like she wasn't getting the attention she deserved?
I don't know.
How does she react towards you? Do you think your mom likes you?
I think, I think she might like me because I think she thinks she's supposed to like me. Like because I'm her daughter. Like it's you're she's supposed to love me or like me. But I don't really feel like she does. I'm just kind of there.
When you were a kid, were you just kind of there?
Yeah, kind of there. Kind of an annoyance. Like maybe she wished that she didn't have to have a kid, and then I just ended up coming along and maybe like taking a lot of money, a lot of attention away, and then my dad had to kind of make up for the attention not being on her anymore. So that's why she was always getting like jewelry and gifts and
And you got nothing? Or pretty much
no,
close to nothing?
no, it's like I got things, but they were never really very good. Like it was always the cheapest, or it was always, oh, we don't have any money, we don't have enough money. So it was always like the basement, like like Chinatown stuff, like bootleg stuff.
Yet she didn't get stuff from Chinatown. Like when she wanted jewelry, it wasn't cheap jewelry.
Well, her problem is that she has this thing where quantity is more important than quality. So she'll have like a lot of gold, but it's not like very good gold. Like I mean, gold is gold, so it doesn't really matter. But it was always like Chinatown gold, or.
Well, the diamond district and the jewelry district, you get, just as good as quality as
Yeah,
anywhere else. You just pay less for it.
Yeah,
'cause you're
gold
cutting
is
out the
gold.
middleman.
If it's 14 karat gold, then it's 14 karat gold. It doesn't matter.
Do you think when you were a kid your mother liked you?
Mm, no,
No.
no.
So this, I want to like you now as you got older.
Because she
Is it
feels guilty. She feels guilty.
But isn't it, do you think it's more, I want to be your mother or I want to be your friend?
Probably more like she wants to be my friend, because despite everything, she would always like I ended up being like a pretty cool person, and I still try to be a cool person, but it's like when she realized that all of the stuff that she kept saying was weird about me, like, is actually kind of cool, and people like that, all of those weird things about me, like, then she started going like, oh well, maybe you're not that bad. She would always copy the things that I did, so she would say it's weird, but then like she would do it.
So after making fun of you for it and making you feel bad for it, as soon as you turned around, she was doing the exact same thing.
Pretty much. So it was just like if I did it, there was something wrong with it, but then when she did it, it was fine. But it was the same exact thing. But
Almost like jealousy.
maybe jealousy because I just never really gave a shit. You know what I'm saying? So it's like if I wanted to do something or if I liked something, then I just liked it or I just did it. Like I never felt self-conscious because I like to dress a certain way or I like to listen to a certain kind of music. Like that's just me. And if you don't like it, then you don't like it, and that's the end of that. And then I guess after a while, she has like a grudging respect for me just because I just really don't give a shit. I just do what I like. I listen to what I like. I dress the way I like. So, you just have to, after a while, you just have to kind of respect it. Whether or not you like me or not, you have to respect the fact that that's the way I am.
Didn't that come more in your teen years? That
Yeah, because I was, even though like I'm very weird, I was more on the popular side. Like a lot of people like me, even to this day. Like I have no problem making friends. I have no problem talking to people. I have no problem meeting people. I'm just a very friendly person, and I think I'm pretty nice. Like I can be very sarcastic, but a lot of people like that about me too. So.
didn't your mother, when you were a child, before your teen years, actively try to prevent you from talking to people, whether it be family members or other people she deemed weird?
That was more my dad. My dad had this thing where he had a certain idea of what I should be, like a doctor, a lawyer. It's because I was very, very smart in school, but I was smart in my way. Just because I'm smart doesn't mean that I want to be a doctor or a lawyer. It means I want to do what I want to do.
Well, you also mentioned how your mother was extremely violent and inappropriate.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom definitely, and I think it's more so because of her childhood. Like she felt like that I shouldn't get any better, or maybe because her mother beat her worse and her beating on me was not as bad as her mother, so therefore it didn't count. But it did count because it screwed me up.
So your mother doesn't like her mother.
Oh no, she doesn't like her. She
Oh,
don't like her at all. She fakes now with visiting all the time.
So then you never had to see this woman,
See who?
your grandmother.
No, I had to see her every weekend.
Oh, you had to see her every weekend.
Yeah.
And in what respect?
Oh, we always had to go and visit her and spend the entire day every week at this tiny one bedroom apartment in the Bronx. And it's like a very ghetto neighborhood. Like you have to be buzzed in and out. The doors are made out of metal. Like whenever you would go out, there'd be people sitting on your car. Like it just wasn't very safe.
So your grandmother, then you'd go there and you'd visit her with her. And
Well, that's because it's just like this Latino thing where it's just like you have to, whether you like it or not. Like that's your lot in life or your drudgery. Like you have to be with your parents. You have to. Like you can't just reject them. So that's the reason why I think they hate me now is because I just said, nah, I don't want to deal with it.
now your family, you're from the Dominican Republic, right?
My family is,
Your
yes.
family's from the Dominican. You were born here. Your brothers were born here, but your family's from the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, they were I think in this country for like a little over 20. No, not a little over. They were in their 20s when they had me, but they were only in America for a short amount of time. They're not very Americanized. Now they are, but when they had me, not really.
So your grandmother's Americanized now?
No, my grandmother still can't speak English.
Really?
Yeah.
They never tried to teach her?
I tried to teach my
Well,
grandmother.
you tried to teach your grandmother to speak.
I had to do a lot.
How
of
old were you when
work.
you were trying to teach your adult grandmother English for the purposes of passing a citizenship test, right?
Maybe like 7, 8.
7, 8 years old.
Yeah, I would have to spend hours and hours and hours trying to teach, and she just didn't want to learn. So it doesn't matter how patient you are and how many times you go, she just didn't want to learn English.
So your mother, instead of letting you have a normal childhood on weekends, play with your friends, used you to teach your grandmother English to know her
Oh,
dad.
the friends, like I had more friends the older I got. When I was younger, I didn't really have that many friends. I was miserable.
But your mother would basically use you as an indentured servant to try to teach your grandmother English. Now, was your father involved in any of this?
In terms of what?
Going over, spending time with your grandmother?
No, my dad hates my grandmother.
So he never had to go. So
no, he never had to go over there.
Okay, did you ever try to refuse as a child?
Mm, it's because I was doing it since I was very, very young, so it's just kind of like it was just one of those things that you always did. But then as
Hmm.
I got older and then I kind of started thinking for myself and getting out of the brainwashing, I just really, yeah, the whole thing was just really weird. Like, if you don't like her, why do you always go over there? And then she forced my uncle now to associate with my grandmother, and he hates her.
How did his
He hates
life
his
turn
mom.
out?
Oh, he's an alcoholic, got fired from his job
Mm.
for drinking on the job. He's miserable. He beats his wife.
Now you always lived in Brooklyn for the majority. You were born in Harlem, but
Yeah,
then you moved.
I was born in Manhattan, and then like my very early in a very very bad neighborhood in Manhattan, and then we moved to Brooklyn. Then my dad started working for a new company, and then we were living in a pretty nice in a fairly nice neighborhood in Bensonhurst, and then he threw it all away to work in Coney Island, and we moved back to another shithole.
Right. So your grandmother lives in the Bronx, though, which
Mm.
is kind of a ways away. Is that the only time you ever had to go to the Bronx?
To visit my grandmother.
Hmm.
Yeah, there was nothing else to do in the Bronx. It's just it was she lived in a crappy neighborhood.
So your mother didn't spend any other time in the Bronx. She didn't do anything else in the Bronx.
My aunt and uncle when they came to America after they moved out of our place, they moved to the Bronx. So sometimes she'll go over there. Like I think there's some other people in the Bronx, but
Is this the aunt and uncle where your mother was twerking on camera with young children? Is that the same
yeah,
ones?
that's because she just doesn't understand it. That's not cool. That's not something you do. It's because she thinks like a 16-year-old girl, and so she doesn't understand that that's not appropriate to do with children. It's not funny. It's sad.
Where does your mother get her hair done?
She gets it in a. It was like a
Was that in the Bronx?
I don't think it was in the Bronx. I think it was in Manhattan.
So you used to
It's
go
like
with.
a Latino one. Like everybody speaks
So your
Spanish.
mother used to take you to the hair salon when she used to get her hair done,
Yeah.
and you used to hang around with the people inside the hair salon.
No, I had to sit in the car
Oh, you had to
with
sit in the
I had to sit in
car.
the car with a quarter for hours and hours and hours, and she would be like, "Oh, watch to see if the police officer comes. If you see a cop come, and go and put a quarter in the meter."
How old are you when that would happen?
Maybe like I don't know. I'm not that good with my memory. Like maybe like 11.
11.
Maybe yeah, maybe like 11, maybe a little, maybe like 14,
Was that in the
somewhere in that age
Bronx?
range. Huh?
Was that in the Bronx as well?
No, I just told you. I think it was Manhattan.
That was
I
Manhattan.
think it was Manhattan.
So your mother would leave you at anywhere from the age of 11 to 14 alone outside to watch a car to basically jip the meters to pay them least amount of possible. Would you come out and check on you to make sure you're all right?
Yeah, I never really liked it because I mean it's just quarters. I don't know how much you're spending on getting your hair done, but I mean you can afford to put some quarters in the meters and not have me sit out there for hours and hours and hours just waiting and then being getting paranoid that a cop is gonna come and if I miss it, like if like let's say she gets a ticket because I missed it or I fell asleep or something, I'd end up getting beaten.
You used to get beat a lot.
She definitely hit me if I missed out and there was a ticket on the car.
But again, I mean, hair isn't cheap. Getting your hair done for hours on end isn't cheap.
And you know what else? It was such a crappy salon because it really shouldn't take that long because all she would do is get her hair like washed, maybe colored. I don't remember what she. Well, I was never inside, so I don't know exactly what she had done. But they were the slowest salon. Like they spend more time bullshitting than they did actually doing hair.
And in the meantime, she'd leave you outside for
Oh
hours on
yeah,
end,
I was
unsupervised.
always in the car. Yeah.
And if God forbid you missed a quarter, you'd have gotten beaten.
Yeah, I never missed a quarter though because I already knew what would happen.
But you got beaten for plenty other things as a child, didn't you?
For anything, yeah.
Your artwork.
Yeah. Yeah.
They used to call you disgusting.
Yeah. Mhm.
So they never tried to nurture your talents.
No, no, not at all. Not really. No, they always said that everything I drew was disgusting. And then, granted, you know what I'm saying? I was screwed up as a kid, so I drew some screwed up things. But any good therapist would have looked at my drawings and been like, "There's something wrong with you."
You think?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I also told a story once about your mother made you eat out of the garbage.
Yeah, and I think she was trying to teach me some profound life lesson about wasting food. But you gotta realize what I had thrown out was a plain donut. I didn't at the time I didn't like plain donuts.
You
And then
still
for
don't like
and
donuts.
it's not even a healthy food. It's something she put out there for breakfast and I didn't want to eat it, so I threw out it was like half eaten like a plain donut. And I was just like I just don't want to eat it and it
Does your
didn't taste
mother
good
eat
to you.
any healthy foods? What kind of food is in there? In there, what we would call a house, an apartment.
Well, I don't know. I think you're being kind of biased because Latinos in general they have a different kind of culinary. Like they eat differently than white people do.
Well, let's talk about the Latino part of it. How did you used to spend your summers when you were a kid?
I don't know. I don't really want to talk about DR.
Dominican Republic.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about
What was your mother's behavior in DR? Were there
it.
nice areas that you went to? We won't get too deep, but what, where would they take you? Where would your
Yeah,
mother take you every?
in the places we went to in Dominican Republic, we didn't stay in resorts or anything like that. We stayed with family members, and
Mhm.
it would vary depending on how better off they were. My dad's side was better off than my mom's side. My mom's side lived in pretty slummy areas. There's some worse slums, but like this is like there were no windows, sometimes no doors. There were bugs everywhere. The streets were beat up. There were kids walking around with like my cousin, he stepped on a nail and then they couldn't afford to take him to a hospital, so he had like a wooden plank as a crutch.
Mhm. So when your mother was there, she just tried to fit in.
No, she was very flashy. She her hair was always bleach blonde, platinum blonde. She wore lots and lots of gold jewelry. Her jeans are super tight, like two sizes too small. She was always shaking her ass like she liked all the attention she got from other people. It was to the point where the last time she went to DR, she had to leave her vacation early because she was showing off so much that they wanted to like steal from her or hurt her or something like that. So her brother or one of my uncles or whoever the hell he is because I don't really know who he is. But
Mhm.
one of them told her that she had to leave the country because they were going to do something bad to her if she stayed because she was, I guess, showing off so much or just too like flashy. And in DR, especially in those neighborhoods, like if you're very flashy or you have a lot of gold or you think you have a lot of money, they're gonna try to take it from you.
Right. Now, when you were living, now you lived when you were living up here. So when you were living with them in Brooklyn, you had a big apartment. It was 5 people, right?
Yeah,
You have two brothers, your mom and your dad.
it was a two-bedroom apartment. My mom and dad had the one bedroom, and then me and my two brothers shared the other bedroom.
Wow. Did they not have money?
I don't think they ever really tried because then you would have to budget. Like they would do things like buy all the jewelry, lease cars. They never owned a car. Everything was leased. It was lease
Hmm.
this car, like lease that car. And it was yeah.
Were they sending money back to Dominican Republic?
Oh yeah. When I was younger, yeah, they would have sent money back to DR. I remember going to the wire places and with my mom, and then she would send I don't know maybe I can't even remember maybe like $600 or something like that
Six
over to
hundred dollars.
DR. And I think it was mostly my dad's side of the family because I think my grandmother on my dad's side, like she was very into the oh you're in America now so that means that you're rich or something and then you got to take care of me you got to send money. He doesn't even talk to his mom. He doesn't talk. I think I remember him one time going over to DR to visit his mom.
So your
One
father
time.
never really went with you to DR. It was you and your mom and your brothers.
Yeah, my dad did not want to really have anything to do with the family. It was to the point where they didn't want us to speak Spanish, and they even said that they didn't want us to speak Spanish just because they didn't want us to communicate with the rest of the family.
But you speak Spanish.
Yeah, because I'm good with languages, so you can't stop me. Like if you keep speaking it around me, I'm gonna pick it up and start talking.
So when you were in DR, you got to know your family, you got to interact with them alone, you were able to grow some kind of bonds. Like you'd be able to go out and interact with your family members and
No, everything was very controlled, very
by
controlled.
who?
My mother.
Controlled how?
She would decide where we went, what we did. It was to the point where I couldn't like even get out of bed in the morning without her giving me the okay that it was time to get up for the day. You know, like so even though she would be sleeping and I would be laying there and I'd be wide awake because I'm a kid. I mean, I don't sleep that long. I'm excited. I want to go do something, and I had to just lay
Mhm.
in bed. And then she would get really mad at me if I tried to get up, like she thought it was like insulting people.
Did she try to prevent you from talking to other family members without her present?
Mm.
Do you feel she was like she did that in order to try to hide you or keep you from?
Yeah, it's more so that she wanted to have control of the image. You know what I'm saying? So even though I was very very unhappy, it's not something that you would talk about or let on. Like everything was very superficial. It wasn't a real family thing. It was more like a show off vacation every time. Like she wanted to go and show off all her Americanness.
Well, you know, it isn't. It is expensive to live in New York City. I mean, rent and utilities and all that is through the roof. So their funds were probably pretty limited, right?
No, my dad worked as a super, so that for these buildings, so that means that he got free rent, free electricity, free everything. Like they pretty much maintained everything. He didn't really have to pay any bills. The only ones he paid were the ones he wanted to because he said that he didn't want them to have full control over the apartment. So like the cable bill he would pay, things like that. But like we didn't pay electricity, we didn't pay water, we didn't pay rent.
Did he make it so he didn't make a salary?
Yeah, no, he did still make a salary.
So he made a salary, paid no rent, no utilities, other than the cable bill because they didn't want him to see. Yet he kept you living in a two-bedroom with five people, you being the only woman, the only girl. Send hundreds of dollars back to DR, spent thousands of dollars on your mom's spending for herself.
She spends so much. I don't even think she realizes how much stuff she like. She's a semi hoarder. Like when you look in her closet, there's just tons of things, and she'll never throw anything out. She has like outfits from like the 80s. If you look behind the television, there's bags stacked of brand new stuff that she's never opened. If you look through her everything, she just has tons of stuff, tons of sneakers, tons of everything, and it's just because she's empty inside, so she just keeps buying and buying and buying.
Like she's trying to impress people.
I don't know. Like I'm pretty understanding of her. Like like I really get that like she grew up with nothing. She grew up dirt poor in Dominican Republic. So it's like a hole that she's filling in herself. So that's the hoarder part of her.
Do you feel like she tried to sabotage you?
I think so, but I don't think she did it knowingly. I think it was because she really doesn't know any better. She really doesn't know any better. It was only when I started watching TV and watching movies and things where I started realizing that the way I was being treated was there was something wrong. I don't think she realizes it herself. When I got older, I recommended that she and my father go for therapy because they desperately needed therapy, and then that's like a curse word there. Like you don't suggest that they need therapy. There's nothing wrong with them. I'm like, there's a lot of things wrong with you. There's a lot of things wrong with everybody.
You're highly intelligent, right?
Yeah, yeah. I was a very gifted student. I was a straight one of those straight A students in the back of the class. Like I'd always slack off. Like I wouldn't pay attention. I'd be that student that all the teachers would say, "Oh, you have so much potential if you'd only apply yourself." But I never really because I kept getting straight A's without trying. So why bother? So why bother?
You could have went to pretty much any high school you wanted
I
in
could have
yours.
went to any college I wanted to if I tried.
Well, you pretty much did, didn't you? Didn't you finish high school with 2 years of college
Yeah,
credits?
that was slacking off. I finished with all of those college credits. In my last year of high school, I was yearbook, I was newspaper. I did a lot of things, and I never applied myself. I barely showed up to things.
The high school you went to, John Dewey, it's not a very good high school.
It used to be. It used to be a very good high school, but then ever since it became the zone school, then it got really crappy.
Well, you said what it was like. You had your honors classes, which were
Yeah.
fine. But
hmm
what was the rest of the school like?
Like in your first 2 years when you're like a freshman and sophomore, I call it general population. It's almost like a prison where you where you have to deal with like everybody. And then after that, when I started going into like the gifted classes, the advanced classes, like AP classes, then it's like a whole different world. But on the outside of it, no, it's like
So
it's very ghetto. People are fighting all the time. Like they
so
fight for
these
stupid
so
things.
these videos you see about when these cops are fighting with students, and yeah, you've seen the other side of it, how these kids actually act.
Yeah, and then I'm understanding of that too, because if you really think about these kids, what kind of life do they have at home? Probably not that different from me. I used to get in fights.
What was it like riding the subway home?
Oh, they would swing from like when you take the train home, they'd swing from the bars. They'd start fights for no reason. Like you have even like the youngest kids, like maybe like not even like 8, 9 years old, trying to start fights. It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous.
Every day.
Every day, yeah, because it's like they're cooped up in a cage.
And you had the opportunity to pretty much go to any high school that you wanted. You could
Yeah,
have went to
I really wanted to go to LaGuardia. Like that was my dream school. That's an art school. That's like for people that do music and painting. And it was like a dream come true. But that one was in Manhattan. And then my mom said that I couldn't go to Manhattan for school.
why not?
I don't know. I guess she thought it wasn't safe, but that's crazy
But
because
you
my
could
school wasn't safe.
but you could sit alone out in a car to feed the meter while she gets her hair done.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You still
Yeah, but then that would give me independence. You know what I'm saying? Like, imagine if I could just get on the train and hop over, go to Manhattan, and go into a whole different world. You know?
right.
I'd be very independent.
And you said your mother used to be all over your art. Both your mother and your father used to discourage your art,
Oh yeah, that's because
and they
it
kept
the
you
art
from going from the best art school in Manhattan under the guise that.
that they were protecting me
But where was the protection
for every other time.
for every other time?
It's selective protection.
So do you still think that she wasn't trying to sabotage you?
I don't know. I can definitely see it like it can't like when you come from that kind of background and you're that kind of person, I can see maybe that you would get defensive or maybe even a little bit jealous because I didn't understand, like when I was growing up, like now I understand that I was very 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 super 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 smart, but when I was growing up I couldn't tell the difference between myself and other people. I knew I finished my homework faster than everybody else. I knew things came easier for me, but like it would be things I have like memories of like trying to ask my dad and it's for help on my homework, and it wasn't, I didn't need the help on my homework, but it was just something I saw on TV and I wanted to do it with my dad.
Something
And then when I looked at him and then he completely gave me the wrong answer, and I remember looking at him and going like, oh, you don't know how to do this, and it was like multiplication or something, and I was like, you don't know how to solve this
So
problem.
you realized pretty early on that you were smarter than your parents.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
What about your father? How would you categorize him?
He's definitely somebody that will lie and bullshit in order to cover up how much he doesn't know. Like he wants to make himself the authority on everything all the time. He's super controlling, very abrasive. Like he thinks it should be this way and that's the only way that it should be because he decided it should be that way, and if you disagree with that, there's something wrong with you.
He was the superintendent for the building, right? So it must be pretty handy.
Yeah, actually, my dad, he's not a dumb guy. He's pretty intelligent, and I think I get a lot of my artistic ability from him because he builds models. He'll build them to scale. They're really incredible models too. Like it really, like you'll look at it and be like, well, why didn't you go into architecture? Probably because his dad didn't encourage him either.
So, well then, I mean, it was a small apartment, so being so handy, the apartment must have been in really good shape. He must have been able to do things since he's able to design so much with his hands and build so much with his hands. At least the space he kept you in had to be nice.
No, it's he was. I feel like he has a lot of hidden depression that he doesn't tackle or he doesn't recognize. Like he leaves everything half finished. So he, like in our apartment in Coney Island, it was a carpeted floor, and he's like, okay, he watches This Old House all the time. He's like, okay, then I want to put a tile floor in, but he only left it halfway done, so then half of the floor is tile and the other half is carpet. And then he wanted to do, he cut a hole into the wall because he wanted to make, I guess like, it was like an arc doorway.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had seen it, I guess, on this old house or something. But that's something you do to your own house. You don't do it to an apartment that somebody else owns. But he cut a hole into the wall, he destroyed that wall, and he left it halfway finished. So now there's just a big old hole in the wall.
Into the second bedroom.
Yeah.
So now he turned the 2-bedroom into a 1-bedroom with a big hole in the wall.
With a big hole in the wall.
And it's never been.
And now that used to be my bedroom because eventually I won, and I was just like, you know, especially and my mom kind of fought for me on that one too because as I started getting older, I was developing. You know, she was like maybe she should have her own space because I had 2 brothers. My household was majority male. That's the reason why I'm such a tomboy. So, but she was like maybe she should have her own space. So like maybe for like I would say maybe 3 to 4 years, I had my own bedroom. But it was never, there was no lock on the door, there was no privacy, they would keep stuff in my bedroom, people would be there all the time. Like, when I started earning money, like, my money would disappear from my bedroom, a lot of things,
Didn't matter.
Yeah, it didn't matter. Didn't matter, like, why bother giving me a personal space, it's not my space.
It was everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Your mother, your brothers, and your father would take from you.
Yeah, oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like I told a story on one of my videos about a Metro card.
Yeah, that was because at that time I was working and I used to buy the monthly unlimited because I'm really good with money, so I would budget everything, and then I budgeted that monthly unlimited, and then one day my friend was like, oh, you know, let's meet up and we'll do this and we'll do that. I'm like, okay, cool. So then I had gotten ready to go out, and by the time, and then I walked all the way to the bus stop, and then when I went to go inside my wallet to look for my Metro card, it was already gone. And I was like, what the hell? And I was like, where the hell is my Metro card? Like those, you know, that's like $80 a month for a monthly unlimited. So I went home and I was going crazy looking for it and everything, and I couldn't find it. And then my dad comes back a couple hours later, and then he tells me, oh, I took it from your wallet. And then I was like, oh, I was just like, that's mine. I mean, you don't just go in my wallet and take it. He's like, oh, well, I needed it. I'm like, I don't care if you needed it. I'm like, that's mine. I wasn't able to go out and do what I wanted to do today because you took my Metro card that I paid for. And he's like, oh, well, you're my daughter, so I can take it. It belongs to me too. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not any logic. And then that's the same kind of logic he taught my brother because my brother took my shit. And then when I told him, like, you know, like, you can't just go in and take my shit whenever you want to, he said, oh, well, if I asked you, you would have said no. And I'm like, what kind of logic is that? So what if I said no? It's not, it's for me to say no and for me to say yes. And if I say no, then it's no, you can't have it.
So it's like your personal space that it doesn't even matter.
There's no boundaries. Nothing, none of my shit matters. What I think matters. What I own matters. None of it matters. None of it matters.
Your mother used to take stuff from you too, especially because when you started working, you did a lot of work in makeup. Working in
yeah, and the only reason I had that damn job instead of pursuing an art career like I really wanted was to make her happy because that's something that I felt like it would impress her because I don't even know why I kept trying to impress her. I'm just like, who cares? She'll never be impressed. She'll never give you any accolades. She'll never recognize anything that you do. It's always going to be subpar. Unless, of course, somebody else recognizes it. Then she'll be right there and be like, oh, yeah, it's awesome. My daughter, my daughter. And then as soon as that person disappears, then she doesn't give a shit anymore. She doesn't give a shit anymore.
Well, when you work in makeup and beauty, you get what's called gratis, where the companies give you, you know, product for you to use so you can use it. When your mother steal that stuff from you?
Yeah, it would always be like I would find the stuff among her stuff, and then she would always just be like, oh, well, that was mine, or, you know, like, you didn't see when I bought it. It's the same kind of logic everybody uses in that household.
But here's the thing. When you do get gratis, it's usually marked with a personal ID number that's engraved on the bottles, marked, and then they have those numbers on it.
Yeah.
And she would still say, and you would point this out to her, and she would still say, it's not true, I bought this.
I can't remember what. Yeah, it's like I have a specific. I can't remember what the product was. I can't remember. And then it always bothered me because I'm like a big giver. Like if I have it and I don't need it if I don't desperately need it for any kind of thing, I'll give it to you. I'll give it right off of my back. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you anything.
You when you were a kid, you always been able to make money with your art and your creativity, right? You used to make comics.
Yeah, I was definitely into drawing a lot. Like when I was in preschool, like I went and I started drawing. Like I'd be the kind of kid that people would circle around me, and then they want to see what I'm drawing, what I'm doing, what I'm drawing, what I'm doing. And then like I'm a big storyteller too. So I would always make funny stories about teachers or funny stories about my friends. And then I started making comic books. And they were like little like pissant comic books. Like they were like two computer papers, and I would fold them in half, and they would be like 4 pages long. And then I would tell people. And in the beginning, I charged them really cheap. It was like 25 cents or 50 cents. And then when they started getting into high demand, then I started raising my price to the point where they were $3. And I would tell people like, it's black and white. I'm not gonna color it. The pencil's gonna smear. Take it or leave it. And people would still buy it for $3.
Kids.
Yeah.
And you were a kid.
Yeah. They do it grudgingly. They would curse and be like $3,
but they give you their money.
They'd buy it. They'd buy it.
And kids, you can't make a kid give you money if they don't want it.
No, yeah, they loved it. They loved it because I had like such a, like I said, like I'm sarcastic. I'm kind of an asshole. Like people like that, and then they used to buy my stuff.
And what happened to that money?
I would usually save it because I'm a big saver. I'm a hoarder of money. I just hoard money all the time, and that's just probably because of my childhood. I just hoard money, and then yeah, and then my brother was whining and complaining or something that he wanted Pokemon cards. My mom wouldn't buy it for him, and then I don't even remember. It's been such a long time, but it definitely was something where um with the money I got, then my mom started looking at my money and kind of like almost acting like I'm a kid, so I don't deserve to have this money, or it's bullshit. Like why do I have money? So she didn't want to buy him the Pokemon cards, but then she guilted me all the way to the end to buying him these damn cards.
How did your mom guilt you?
I don't remember.
Did she ignore you?
She would ignore me for everything all the time. That was her big thing, was to ignore me. So like if I didn't act the way that she liked, or I did something that she didn't like, or she felt like the family was against her, she'd go right away into ignore mode. She was a big ignorer. Like it would be ignoring. Like she would act like you're not even there. Like you'll be right in front of her and you can like wave your hand and she'll totally ignore you.
And this went on for weeks.
Yeah, a long time. Mm-hmm.
You eventually bought your brother the cards.
That's because that's like the little power that she has. It's the little power that she has to make you feel like you don't even exist.
And you eventually after weeks of this, you bought your brother the cards.
It was pretty quick.
It was actually pretty quick.
Yeah, it was pretty quick. I bought the cards for him.
But the ignoring went on for weeks. And when you finally told your mother you had bought him the cards, what did she say to you?
Oh, you should have told me. That's what she said. Oh, you should have told me, that I wouldn't have gotten mad. I'm like,
to a child.
Yeah, it's like my money. Like, why would you get mad? It's my money. Like, maybe you should sell one of your damn rings and buy him some Pokemon cards.
Meantime, still trips to DR, gold, bags of junk that she would bring home every day. You still think your mother wasn't trying to sabotage you?
I still think it's not conscious. Like I think it's like an instinct. It's like because that's the problem when you have a personality disorder, is that you don't recognize that you have a personality disorder. So for her, if you ask her, she's justified in everything she's ever done. She doesn't think she did anything wrong, or even if she does, maybe you get through to her and then you tell her and she starts realizing she did something wrong, then it would be tears and well, my mother did this to me and my family did this and my childhood was like this. I'm like, well, that's no excuse. I'm like, then you should have known that it would suck when you did it to me.
But it didn't suck for her.
No, she got off on it.
Exactly when she was beating you and treating you this way?
Yeah.
How did you feel she felt about it?
She would always do it when I'm alone too. She won't beat me or hit me in front of people. It was always alone. She liked to terrorize me.
When she was terrorizing you, did you get any impressions over how she felt about terror?
She got off on it. She liked the power. Yeah, she liked the power she had over me.
She liked to bully you.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then when you became an adolescent,
I was terrified of her.
She was quite violent.
Yeah.
Amongst other things, which we won't get into.
Yeah, my dad was definitely, he hit a lot harder than my mom did.
Your dad used to beat you too.
Oh yeah, my dad used to hit me. Yeah, because his thing with me is that he hated how smart I was, and he doesn't like people to be smarter than him or to show him up in any way. So if you show him up, like he'll get really really pissed off. If it's his boss, then he'll come home really pissed off, and then that's when he'll just start hitting for no reason. Like that's when like he comes home in a bad mood, so you got to stay out of his way. But if you do it to him, yeah, I'll let you know. Oh, you think you're smart? How smart do you think you are now?
Your father used to hit you with his hand.
No, belt.
Belt.
Belt or a sandal. Yeah, but definitely belt. Belt was his favorite. Like he used to whip me, and then my legs would be like red, purple. My mom did that too. Yeah, my mom beat me once because I used her shampoo. That one I remember a lot. She beat me pretty bad for using her shampoo, and I had really long hair at the time. I had hair like all the way down to like almost like my butt. Like it was so long. She used to beat me a lot, and she used to grab me by my hair and pull me around by my hair a lot.
But that was when nobody else was around. It was
Yeah.
just you and her.
Mhm.
Maybe your brothers.
Maybe sometimes my brothers might have seen it. Like they probably blocked it out a lot. I'm surprised at how much they blocked it out because when I talked to my older brother, he said, "Oh, I don't remember that. Oh, I don't remember." I'm like, "How could you not remember these things?"
Yeah, my brother would ask say the same thing.
I
It's
don't
like, how do you
remember
remember that? I'm like, how do you forget?
that. Yeah, how do you forget?
Did your father say anything to you when he was hitting you?
Like I said, oh, you think you're smart? You got a big mouth, yeah, stuff like that.
Would he beat you a certain amount, hit you a certain amount of times, or was it
It
just
was
for
it,
effect?
he wanted me to cry. Yeah, he
He
wanted me to
liked to
cry.
watch you cry.
Yeah, he wanted me to cry. He wanted to like it was like humiliating, like and then the thing is that like after a while, like when you get beat a lot, like it doesn't hurt that much anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get used to the feeling. And so like he'd have to hit me pretty hard for the tears to come. And then after a while I just started crying just to cry. Like to this day, like I don't even feel pain like other people do. Like it's like, oh really? But I just like oh.
Now, your father, you said, bought you his claim to fame is these pencils that he bought you one time, right?
Mhm. Yeah. But like I'm telling you, I like like I believe in God and everything. I try to be very forgiving. So like when I think about it, I think like those were his little moments where you can almost feel like he was like a real person, like he tried, but he can't get out of his own way. He can't get out of his own way.
And
But
you
those were
gave
his
up
little
art.
moments when he
You
tried.
gave up art for years, right?
Yeah, I was really depressed. Like I kept circling around, like doing the makeup artist thing. Every single time I used to work for these makeup companies, like, and then we get like new shipments of eyeshadows, and then every time I'd look at it, I'd be like, I wish this was paint. I wish this was paint. And then after, like, and then it's just you just keep denying what you really want.
How did you get back into painting?
I feel like just one day I just like it's something that I can't control. Like it just burst out of you. Like I used to get in trouble all the time because I used to draw everywhere. I used to draw on the wall. I used to draw on my desk. I was a big drawer on my desk at school. So it's something you can't control. Like if that's what you're supposed to do, it just explodes out of you. And I feel like maybe that day, like I just was like, okay, like I have to paint. I just decided one day I have to because it was like my hands were like they were bursting. Like they were just like I have to do something.
Did you ever get any arts? Your parents used to buy you art supplies?
No, because art supplies are expensive. So that wasn't an expense they thought was important. And especially because they didn't respect artists. So they didn't think that was something that was worth like my dad was all about the lawyer and the doctor because I was so smart, but I'm not. I'm creative. I like to paint. I like to draw. I like to create things.
When you started trying to pick up the art again, we were in Miami at the time, and you told your father. Do you remember what he said to you? How he reacted?
Oh, good. Now you can paint the portrait of my father. The same father that when we went to visit him, he didn't even recognize his own grandchildren. He ignored us and pretended that we didn't exist. And then he's like, "Oh, good. You can paint the portrait of my father."
Did he give you credit for being artistic?
No.
Did he try to take credit?
No. You know what it is? It's because I know that deep down inside, like he knew that I was talented. Deep down inside, he knows that I'm talented. And then it was just like it almost feels like my entire life, like he just kept trying to beat it out of me, deny it, squash it. And because I have such a strong personality, I'm like, well, I'm gonna do it anyway. Then when I do it anyway, and then I start succeeding, then you want to hop right on the train and be like, oh, we always knew. I'm like, did you always know? Did you really?
Didn't he say to you, I always knew all I want is a farm?
Oh yeah, that
He's
was a long
already
one because definitely ever since I was a little kid, I knew I was gonna be successful. I'm like now I have a lot of hiccups along the road, so it's taking me a long time to get to that goal. But ever since I was a kid, I was like, there's no way I'm not gonna be successful. I took it for granted. I'm like, I'm gonna be successful, and I'm probably gonna end up making a lot of money, you know. And he knows it too, and he knew it deep down inside. So every time he would tell me, he'd say, oh, when you make your money, you can buy me a farm. And then he used to draw maps and plans. That's the architecture thing I was telling you. Really detailed layouts and plans of the farm that he wanted to have because he grew up on a farm when he was a kid and then he just wants that
So
farm
just as
again.
you're getting back into art, he's already looking to spend your money. What
He was
can I
doing
get
yeah,
out of this?
he was doing that while he was discouraging me from the art. Like he knew that I was gonna end up doing it anyway.
And you got a lot of awards in school.
I got awards for everything.
So your parents gave you a lot of credit for that.
No.
No.
No, and then the thing was is that I think it's almost like they grudgingly gave it to me, and it was almost like because I got so many of them, it wasn't that important. And my brothers hated it. Like I could tell that they hated that the whole wall was filled with like my awards, and then they would have like a participation award or something, and then mine would be like dean's list, honors list, you know, Arista Society.
Weren't
And then
you attacked over it?
over what?
Over all your awards?
By my brother, yeah.
Arrogant?
Oh yeah. They used to say that I was arrogant and the thing is, I wasn't never really full of myself. Like I can't help it if things come easy to me. I can't help it. That's just the way that my brain works. I can't help it.
And you were so smart that even in school they wanted to move you ahead 2 grades, and you went to testing a few times. What happened at that testing?
Yeah, I definitely was somebody eligible to skip ahead a few grades.
And what happened when
by my estimation, if I skipped ahead and I actually really applied myself and I skipped ahead the way I should, I probably could have graduated from college at like 16. Probably 16, 17 I would have graduated from and gotten an AS at least. Now maybe not a bachelor's, but definitely I would have graduated from the first 4 years ago. If I really applied myself and I had people that encouraged me and really put a lot of effort into me, I definitely would have graduated college at 16.
What happened when you were tested? Why didn't you go?
Oh, because I thought my mom was gonna beat me. That was when I was really young, and I still remember to this day. I can remember myself in that room, and then like I think they put like toys in front of me, and they were asking me questions, and I didn't say a single, I didn't speak at all, and I think they thought I was retarded.
All because you thought your mother would beat
I thought
you.
my mom was gonna beat me. I thought I was gonna say the wrong answer or say the wrong thing, and then she'd hit me.
And that was part of her training, where like you weren't allowed to get out of bed because she didn't want you interacting with other people.
She was very
You didn't
controlling.
know. You didn't know what was going to get you beat and what wasn't. But you knew if you just stayed quiet,
Yeah,
it would be fine.
yeah.
And your mother almost gets a satisfaction out of it.
Out of squashing that, yeah.
Mhm.
It's because it almost feels like she thinks she can get back at all of the people that humiliated her when she was a child or she was in school. That she feels like she can get back at them by squashing me down because maybe I remind her of people that used to make fun of her. I'm your kid, so why would you why would you think of me that way?
You always had to be. You told me that. Well, your parents don't get along very well, right?
No, they're definitely two people that I think never should have gotten married. I remember when I was a kid growing up hoping that they would get divorced. And I think that, and I do remember that they separated at one time too, where my mother was living with my grandmother, and then my dad was living somewhere else.
So were you dragged into their fights?
Yeah, for a long time, especially as I got older, I felt like I was a marriage counselor. Like I was like the in between, the go between. Like I would pass along messages.
What about their finances and other stuff? Well, talk about what happened the last time you saw your mom. Do you remember the circumstances? We were living in Miami. Let me help you. You got a call from your dad one day, right?
Mm.
And what happened? What did he say?
I don't remember.
Your mother will be at the airport in 2 days.
Something like that, yeah.
Just sent her here. And what was your mother's behavior like down here
The only reason I agreed to it too was because we needed groceries.
at the time?
Mm-hmm. And then at that point, that's the way I started to see them too, because I didn't feel any kind of family connection at all. They never fostered a family connection, so I never felt like they were my family. I was just like, I need somebody to help me get some groceries.
Well, we weren't good. We had groceries. We just couldn't for a third person. What was your mother's behavior like when she was here?
She said I think, stayed in bed a lot. She was on her computer a lot.
When we went out to like Burlington Coat Factory or...
Oh, she would use the speakerphone. Like she's one of those annoying people that has everybody on speakerphone. She's just very ghetto. I've only seen very ghetto people do that. Like on the speakerphone, like super loud, interrupting everybody else's time.
Mm-hmm. But the top level phone at the time. Nicest Samsung or whatever it was.
Maybe something like that. Which is funny because I don't think I had a cell phone until I reached college, and even then, like I had like a shitty cell phone. The first time I ever had a really nice cell phone was when I bought it for myself when I was working at Macy's.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had gone to the store, and that was like my first real like, wow, like this is something you can just do it yourself, and then if you want something nice, you just go and you do it yourself.
Now you and your mother have the same legal name, right?
Yeah.
And
which is weird because mothers and daughters, they don't do the whole that's a father-son thing,
right.
Not really a mother-daughter thing.
And do you remember what the ultimate goal was of having your mother come here? Why your father actually sent her here?
No, I don't remember.
What did you... Do you remember what you had to fight with your father about and your mother in the apartment in Miami?
I feel like I had to apply her for a job for something. And that's something that I had done many times before. I spent a lot of time writing their resumes, applying for them to jobs and things like that.
So your mother basically got fired from her job because she wasn't doing it. And he wanted you to apply her for jobs.
She's not capable of holding any real jobs. She has no idea how to go into the workforce, how to build a resume, how to do interviews. Every single job she's gotten has always been through a favor. She doesn't have the capability in order to be self-sufficient and apply for a job herself.
Right. So when you called your father and said that she needs to be able to do this herself, I can't go on the interviews for her, what did he say to you? How did he treat you?
He got like very frustrated because the way he thinks and the way he acts is he's kind of like a puppeteer. Like he thinks that everybody's just his little puppets, and then like he can decide where people go, like like it's a chess game, and everybody's like a pawn or a rook or whatever, and then he can just move them in position that works for him. And so like when they start rebelling, then he gets very very frustrated because he's like, why are you not playing the game the way that I want you to play? It's like it's if you tried to move your chess pieces and all of a sudden you realize that like they're real people and they're just like, well, I don't want to move to that square, you know. So he got very very frustrated and he was like, oh, I don't understand why you can't just do it. It's easy. I'm like, oh, yeah, if it's easy, then you fucking do it. She's your wife.
Wasn't there banking involved as well? They wanted you to call the banks as her.
No, it was because she had no idea what date she was leaving, and I'm like, oh, how didn't you know? And I'm like, well, you have to call. I mean, you have to call the airline, you have to call the bank and find out when your flight is leaving. She had no idea how to do it, so I had to do it for her to find out. And I had to call up as her and be like, yeah, my name is so and so. I just want to double check and see when my flight is leaving. I have to take care of the whole thing.
And what was your mother? Was your mother at least trying to learn the entire time?
Nah, she just got used to people taking care of things for her. She
But
never
physically,
really.
what was she doing as all this was going on there?
She was on her laptop.
On her
She was
laptop.
she was laying in bed, and she was on her laptop.
Watching twerking videos.
No. She doesn't do that a lot. She was playing games. Like she'll play like it's like Tetris, like the Candy Crush kind of games, like Bejeweled.
Like a teenager would.
And then the reason she does that is honestly, like if you ever play those games, it's all about keeping things in order, you know. So I feel like it helps her mentally, you know, to kind of like escape and go into these games where you just have to like sort things.
But as you're trying to actively help her,
she reverted back into her child phase. Yeah, she reverts back. She reverts back to child phase very often.
And she was annoyed too. She got quiet. She stopped talking.
Then she wasn't annoyed because at that no she wasn't annoyed at that point. I feel like I kind of impressed her because I think I remember at the time like I was looking for like a little side job or something like that, and then I had gone on a walk with her, and then I was just like, oh, I was like, let me walk in here and see if they're hiring, and then I just walked in and I was just like, hey, are you guys hiring? Do you know like stuff like that? Can I leave my resume? Can I leave my phone number? And then she witnessed the whole thing and she's like, wow, it's just that easy for you. I'm like, yeah, I'm like it is that easy. You know, you just go in, and if they're hiring, great. If they're not, oh well. You know, that's it, and you move on to the next place.
Do you think your father wants to keep her dumb?
Yeah.
He likes it.
Yeah, he likes it because the thing is that my mom is very attractive. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of older guys, not even older guys, like guys in general that probably would like to get with my mom. You know, and then he feels like if he needs to like control her. Because otherwise she'll leave. And with good reason, she probably would leave.
Right.
If she had any kind of sense in her mind, she would leave.
It's been like that their whole marriage.
Mm-hmm. And then he's gotten her to the point where she feels like she can't function without him. Like she can't take care of her life, that she's stupid, you know, that she just can't handle it. That's the way he wants it. And then in a way, she kind of likes it too, because then she's like, well, I don't have to do anything because somebody else will take care of all of my problems for me. It's lazy.
Do you think that's why she would go along with wearing lingerie at the dinner table and all that? That
was really, really bad. That was definitely a control thing. It was a control thing by him. Like, there is no reason why we're sitting around at the dinner table and she's wearing see-through lingerie. There's no reason why. It's disturbing, you know?
Talking about sex in Spanish in front of you at the dinner table.
Yeah, definitely. And my mom had a lot of, like, those, and like, they call it in Spanish, like, sexy comedia, you know? Like, it's, like, sexy comedies, and it was always, like, about sex and stuff like that. Like, she thinks like a child. Like, that was not appropriate for any of us to see, for any of us to hear talk about. The lingerie at the dinner table was disturbing.
Mm-hmm. And you think your father has issues with that anyway?
Yeah, the last time I talked to my brother, and I don't really talk to him often, but he told me that she came out of the bedroom wearing a tank top and no bra. You know, and he's just like, what the hell are you doing? And I'm like, you should have kicked her out of the house right there.
Right.
Like, how are you doing this to me?
Because he has a young child.
Yeah.
He has two now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And a girl.
Yeah, both girls.
Two girls. And that's the last woman you want around young girls.
Yep. You don't want her to teach your kids anything about being a woman or being an adult.
If we had a child, would you be comfortable with our child being alone with your father?
No. Because he definitely will delude himself into thinking he's not doing anything wrong.
Right. Now, we're not going to get in too deep, but you think that your father has things happen back in the day with other people?
Yeah, because it's more like if you know anything about abusers, you know it's about power. It's not about attraction or anything like that. But then you never know because they're so screwed up, especially down in that country. They're so screwed up that they commingle the two of them, like the power and sex.
Right. Well, a lot of things down in DR as well. It's part of poor culture, I guess.
Yeah, it's like how when you in Mexico, there's how many pregnant 16-year-olds. You know, it's because they don't respect the age, they don't respect the development process.
That's within the family.
It's because now, like, this is my dick, and I want to put my dick in you. I don't care how old you are. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just the mentality.
And it's within the family, and the family covers for each other, and it's.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
It's something you personally observed, right?
I guess so.
I guess so. So when's the last time you spoke to either your mother or your father?
Years.
Years. Are you happy in general as a person?
No, not at all.
Why not?
Oh, no, I'm super depressed all the time.
You have a voice in your head?
Yeah.
Is it your voice or is it somebody else's
It
voice?
sounds like me. But it's not me. It's like a very destructive voice. It's just like it's always second guessing, super. Like it always makes me feel like maybe I can't cut it. Like maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not as smart as I think I am. Maybe I'm not as talented as I think I am. Maybe I should just give up and not bother.
So basically the same thing as your mother and father were saying to you in your childhood.
Yeah, except now I'm doing it to myself.
How's your artwork going?
Start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop.
Is that a pattern with us? Is it only your art?
No, it's everything. Like I definitely feel like I'm going into the patterns of my father where I leave things half finished.
What happens? Because it seems like you're able to either write a story, do some art, complete a couple little things, and then what happens?
I don't know, it just kind of devolves from there.
You get the block and the voice in your head.
A lot of it is like second guessing, like fear that people are going to judge me for what I do, Because I was always judged for everything I did, like my artwork. The same things that I'm painting now, like I paint pinups, like, I would have gotten my ass beat for drawing these things. And I just, like, I'm trying to get to the point now where I really don't give a shit whether you like it or not. If you like it, great. If you don't, great. Like, I don't care.
I've never heard anybody dislike any of your artwork. I've never seen or heard anybody dislike anything you've done. The only stories of dislike I hear come from your childhood, from your mother and father. So do you think you're still somewhere in the back of your mind worrying about what they're going to think, what they're going to say, and that's the voice in your head?
Somewhat, yeah, somewhat. Somewhat.
How destructive has it been for you?
Oh, I was like I still battle now with thoughts of suicide. Like and I'm trying and I got like a lot better now. But like even still to this day, like I'll just have like these crazy ideas sometimes. Like I'll still now like I'll be behind the wheel of the car and like sometimes I'll just hope like there'll be a semi that'll just ram into me and just like take care of it.
Because the voice don't stop? The doom?
I don't know.
Do you want to die?
Sometimes.
Why? What do you think would be the end result? It would just end?
Just end.
Because of the voices they've put into your head. The self-doubt, the fear of success.
Yeah, like sometimes it feels like things will never get better.
Well, thank you for coming on my channel. I appreciate it. I know this was hard for you to do, but you don't have to cry. It's all right. But this is important for everybody to see, to know they're not alone. Like I said on a couple videos ago, I wouldn't have known how prevalent this was. These conditions, narcissism, how many of us are out there? If it hadn't been for you finding that Daughter's a Narcissistic Mother's message board. I knew about it from Maureen when you know, that whole process when I was in therapy. And she had come to my therapist with me as well after when we were going through it. So, you know, but it wasn't until I went online and she found this thing and I kind of just caught on to it. But you're too talented to let these people get the better of you. And it's easy for me to say that to you, but you end up saying the same thing to me all the time with this, and I got to keep going and on and on. We all have these issues. So thank you for sharing what you were able to share. I know it was hard. After an hour and 5 minutes of this, this is my longest video yet. So I love you. Nothing? All right. She's upset. You all right? Can you at least give a thumbs up that you're here? Thank you, baby. All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching. If you got through, this is my first time trying something like this, so I hope everybody got something out of it. It really took a lot for her to do this, but you know, this is something that this channel is going to need to do in order to expand. You know, reading stories, I'm still going to do a lot of that, but actually being able to talk to somebody, hear their voices, it brings it to another level. And it's where I want to go with this channel and expanding it. So it's a bit of a taste of what this channel could be, what I want to expand it to. So thank you, everybody who's watched and has subscribed and continues to watch. I really appreciate it. And if you do, remember, if you want to see, if you enjoy this channel and you want to see it expand and grow, please consider making a contribution to the PayPal link in the description box. Remember, contribution of any amount, and you want your story made into a video, you go right to the top of the list. Zelle Matthews and my wife Charlene, you wave again. Let them know you're still here. She's got a beer. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all again shortly. Bye.